we're going to want to start as soon as possible. There's a lot of people who had a lot of questions for me right up here, and I would be very happy to field any medical question that you have about anything, any medical condition, because the average patient that I see, average, has seen 4 to 5 at least different medical doctors, and they got no answers except they must have a God-made deficiency of some drug, like an NSAID drug, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory for pain, or some drug to bash down their blood pressure. Now, I don't know anybody who was born with a deficiency of a beta blocker or a calcium channel blocker. I mean, do you? I mean, were we born with that? Think about it logically. I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. Yeah, I graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Johns Hopkins University. That's not ego talking. That's just happened. I went to one of the best medical schools in the world, UC San Francisco. I almost quit at the end of my 3rd year. I was depressed. Why? Because I felt I was being bought and trained by pharma. I saw us doing test after test on people and giving them chemical after chemical just to bludgeon them. I saw cancer patients mutilated. And I was depressed because what the hell am I being trained to do? A pimp for the pharmaceutical industry? That's what I felt. And today in my medical journalism, I use the term you all are being farmed, PHARMED, for profit. They don't give a damn about your health. They empty your wallet first, and then you're left out to rot afterwards. No one came up and claimed my $100 because you can't. There is no synthetic petrochemical drug that cures a disease. Even antibiotics, if you don't have an immune system, antibiotics aren't going to cure you. You still need to have an immune system. And I've asked doctors about this, and no one has claimed the $100. You've got to get your body back to the way God designed it, to heal. It needs raw materials. Your car, you take better care of your car than you do your body. You change your oil every 3,000 miles, don't you? You make sure there's 28 or 30 pounds of air pressure in your tires. You use the right octane of gas. Well, what kind of octane of food are you putting in your body? Trash. Mineral deficient. If you don't have the gap in your spark plug right, you can't make energy in that cylinder. You take better care of your automobiles than you do your own body. So my philosophy is get into the body, the raw materials it needs to heal, and get out of it the toxins and poisons that are screwing it up. And do your best to lower your stress. I'm not the best to deal with my patients with stress, but I direct them. I deal mostly with toxins and nutrition, and I deal with oxidation. Somebody asked me, are you going to talk about ozone? Do any of you want to hear about that? Do any of you not want to hear about it? All right. You might as well, he wants it short because yeah.
There's a lot of questions.
You can do ozone in the privacy of your home. There is a company that sells ozone water purifiers, and I tell my patients to get it because I'd rather them do it at home than come to me. I do it in their blood. It works a lot better and faster. The one gift that Castro gave to the world was he funded the Cuban World Research Ozone Center. I might not have the name right, but that was in 1986. The Cubans have done phenomenal research in ozone, as have the Italians and the Germans. Ozone therapy, the way I do it, is either giving it rectally or, to work much better, we give it in the blood, or if you have degenerative joint disease and you walk into my office like this, holding onto the wall, this is videos of patients on my YouTube channel. You'll see it before and after. You put it in the joint. What does the body need to heal more than anything else? What single thing does the body need to heal? Thank you. Oxygen. That's it. Oxygen. You get oxygen in and you get oxygen to burn and you make energy for healing. Ozone is O3. Ozone is gas. Ozone is O3. You take some blood out. The way I do it generally is I take some blood out. I put ozone oxygen gas mixture in it, mix it up, give it back to the patient. Another way you can do it is actually put the gas right into a joint or a body cavity. Another way is putting it in rectally. I've had patients blow it in their ears. You're not putting gas in your bloodstream. You take the blood out and you mix it up with the gas. The gas reacts with the blood, and now you're putting the blood back in, the treated blood. And that stimulates. You could go online, for those of you who are technically inclined, and get a book, if you're technically inclined, by Vilio Bocci, B-O-C-C-I, from Amazon, and he's written a treatise on what ozone does to your blood physiology. It stimulates oxygen delivery. It lubricates blood cells so that it gets better what we call rheologic properties. That's flow properties of blood. It modulates the immune system so that if your immune system is weak like this, it comes back like that. If it's like this, it goes like this. What do pharma drugs do? Well, if you're out of balance like this, drugs, chemical drugs, bring you down like this. So you're in balance. Maybe your pain goes away, but you're operating here. Hey, people, I want you up here. I will challenge any one of you up to 15 years younger than me, even 20 years younger than me, to a hike in the High Sierra to keep up with me. I don't see any takers. And if you beat me, I'll pay your trip. My diet, I'm an organic raw food vegetarian. I attribute my health more to diet than anything else. I also have done chelation therapy to remove heavy metals, and I have the lowest heavy metals of almost anybody I know. I eat a very good diet. I get some exercise. I am not an exercise buff, but I walk up a hill, a 1,200-foot hill, about once a week, and it's a 7-mile round trip. And I do that whole thing. I get up the hill, it's 1,200 feet up, and I time myself. That's how I know how I'm doing. It's 3.5 miles one way, 1,200 feet up, and I can get up there in as low as 55 minutes carrying 10 pounds of dumbbells on my back.
Are you a vegetarian because that's what you want to be, or are you not in favor of eating meat?
It's an excellent question. The question for the camera is, am I a vegetarian for health reasons or I don't want to eat meat? Both. Vegetarians typically are healthier. California Seventh-day Adventists live longer than even fish-eating Adventists. The longest-lived societies on the planet, of the 5, 4 are mostly vegetarian. Only 1, the Okinawans, do eat meat or fish. I'm a vegetarian largely for spiritual reasons, because I don't want to kill an animal. That's me. There's no judgment here, and I don't judge anybody who wants to eat meat. If you want to eat meat, please do it. Just make sure it's fed naturally, it's organic, and it's humanely killed. But I'm a vegetarian for spiritual reasons. When I left Alaska, when I married my wife and I came to California in the year 2000, I had already made up my mind to stop eating fish because I was leaving Alaska, home of salmon. I went out and got salmon. I admit it. I loved it. I made lox. I made smoked salmon. I ate a fair amount of salmon, not a lot. Perhaps twice a week I ate salmon. But I wasn't eating meat and I wasn't eating chicken. After I came to California, I said, I'm going to stop killing fish. And I also gave up eggs.
A high-performing athlete's got to have a lot of carbohydrates.
Guess what? High-performing athletes eat like me. Doug Graham. Doug Graham wrote a piece in our book, The PEO Solution. He's a chiropractor and a nutritionist to NBA professional athletes. He moves them to more raw foods. And as they do, their aging process reverses and they can perform better on the court.
Everybody's been misled on overdosing on carbs, by the way.
Once,
It's not the way to go.
once again, let me elaborate on this for you. Let's go back in human history 1,000 years.
Tell them what you don't eat. There's one thing, being a raw foods vegan, compared to the
yeah,
average vegetarian, he doesn't eat.
I'm going to explain a couple things. You don't have to eat like me.
Good.
I'm not asking you to. You don't have to, and please don't. Because I love what I eat. I thrive on it. When I was on the mountain in the high Sierra, I was craving a salad. That's all I could think about. On the mountain was coming down and getting a salad because I couldn't carry it. It was too heavy. But I was still eating raw. I was eating sprouted nuts that had been dehydrated because I needed dense calories for this trip. Now, I ask my patients, eat like me, please, about 70%. So let's talk about the Paleolithic diet for a moment. Let's go back in human history a couple thousand years. What were people eating? I'm not arguing that human beings are eating animal protein. I'm not going to argue with that. There were societies that were always vegetarian. India, for example, has been largely vegetarian, and there were others as well. But let's say we were eating meat. And we were probably eating meat even before we were cooking it over fire. But let's look at logic for a moment. Let's look at our three closest relatives in nature, the chimp, the bonobo, and the gorilla. What are they eating? They're vegetarian. In fact, they're vegan. Do you see any of them cooking their food? Even a lion, a carnivore. I've never seen him get an antelope and cook it over a fire. I haven't seen it. He's eating it raw. And what does he eat first? The guts. He eats the flesh last. We stupid people are eating the flesh first, the hardest part of the animal to digest, the muscle. It's the hardest to digest, and we're cooking it. So we're not doing what nature is suggesting. The chimp, the bonobo, and the gorilla, they're eating their food raw. I don't see them cooking it. We do. So that's something to think about. Now, I tell my patients, please eat like me about 70% of the time. I don't care what you do with the remaining 30%. Eat like him. I respect him. All right, be a carnivore if you want. Cook it. Just don't overcook it. Don't eat fried food, fast food, refined food, or processed food. That's all I ask. What you do with that remaining 30%, eat cooked food. That's fine. Eat meat. That's fine. No grains. Because the grains, you're processing them. I ask them to limit beans and legumes, but I don't proscribe that. But 25+% of the American population has a gluten problem. And you're going to find that in the gluten grains. And the wheat we have today is different than it was 300 years ago. It's been hybridized to make a lot more gluten, and it's destroying a lot of people. So I ask my patients, eliminate grains. Dairy can be a problem for some people. And a lot of people do well. I happen to like unpasteurized dairy, if you're going to eat it. And I tolerate dairy. A lot of people don't. I don't really push dairy. But I tell people, no fast, fried, refined, or processed foods. End of story. So I concentrate on diet. I concentrate on detoxification. And then I target therapies and supplements as I see the need for a particular case. I see a lot of pain. I don't believe that there's pain in the world that is a deficiency of a chemical. Pain is a friend. How many of you have pain? I'm sorry to hear that. But please, God designed you to have pain to tell you there's something wrong. And if you mask it with a chemical, the problem is still there. When you have leprosy and your nerves are knocked out by the leprosy and you can't feel anything, you mutilate yourself because you can't feel it. Pain is your friend. Let's address the cause. The first thing I do when somebody comes to see me for pain is I say, tell me about your teeth. Surprised? How many of you have gotten the newsletter I wrote, Second Opinion? I know there's a couple of you. Wow, okay. Those of you who do know that I look at teeth, I look for root canals. How many of you have root canals? Lots of you. Okay. Well, a root canal is a dead tooth, right? Does your body like something dead to remain in its body? If I tied off the artery to one of your gonads and it died, would you want that dead organ to remain in your body? It's dead. It putrefies. It rots. Well, that's what's happening to a tooth. It's an organ. It's got a structure. It's got proteins in it that waste away to horrible toxins. And each tooth is in an acupuncture meridian that can destroy areas in your body along the path of that meridian. I was appointed to a term on the state medical board in Alaska. I defeated the opponents in the legislature because the people rose up in my defense. The reason why I was appointed, one reason, is because a lieutenant governor brought his wife to me who was in horrible pain. They were going to operate on this woman because she could barely walk. They brought her to me to get in a series of injections on her back called prolotherapy, which are really uncomfortable, and I'm good at it, but it's really uncomfortable, and I don't want to give injections to people unless they need it. I'll make a lot of money, but God doesn't want me to do that. I mean, God wants me to make money if I do the ethical thing. That's how I see it. But ethics come first. So the first thing I did is I said, do you have any root canals? She said, yeah. Do you know where they are? No. So I said, well, you just came up from Juneau. It's an airplane flight to Anchorage. So let's see if I can find out where they are. I do muscle testing, something the chiropractors taught me. But the medical doctors would think it's quackery. So I have her touch one tooth after another while I'm testing her arm, and bingo, her arm gets really weak on one. I say, oops, that may be a problem. Let's put a penny's worth of a numbing medicine into that tooth. So she let me do it, and her straight leg raising on the table was about 5 degrees. We got it maybe to 10 degrees. It wasn't much. I said, that's not it. So we went down and found another tooth. Interestingly, each of them were upper bicuspids, which is the lung large intestine meridian, which deal with the lumbar spine. And this woman didn't have much wrong on x-ray with her lumbar spine. Let me tell you, x-rays don't mean much when it comes to low back pain. How many of you have low back pain? How about that? All right? X-rays mean crap. And her x-ray was good, and they're going to operate on this woman. And if they had operated on her, she'd have been dead, in my opinion. So bingo, we find the second one. I put 2 cents worth of Procaine into that tooth, and she jumps off the table, does a jig, and says, oh my God, what did you do to me? Now, I've got patients like that on my YouTube channel. We didn't have videos back then. That was around 1991. And I said, Francis, I'm not going to be the one to get you better. I think you got a problem in that tooth. Go back to Juneau, the capital, and see a dentist who can look at this. So she goes to a dentist. The dentist takes an x-ray, calls me up and says, hey, doc, she's got an apical abscess in that tooth. No one knew it. What do? I said, get it out. He took it out. The woman's pain went away and never came back. She lived her final days and she didn't have back pain. A year later, I was appointed to the state medical board. Her husband signed the certificate. And this was over the objections of the medical industry. All right. So I'm telling you some stories that might help you. There is a cause of pain. Very often, in knees, for example. I hope you don't mind me sharing this with them because they've got problems. And incidentally, the oils will benefit this because you need the oils in your membranes to get oxygen through. I do use a lot of oils in my practice. I'm being honest with you now. I don't take them. I don't need them. If you decided to eat like me, you don't need them. Would you agree?
Agreed. Now,
He
the
agrees.
reason you do need them is to compensate for the junk you're eating. See, that's the problem in the normal American diet. We're even eating decently. A lot of the oil is adulterated, so you need to take the good stuff to overpower it. He's not getting any junk, so he needs about a third of the oils most of us would need.
I'm eating an uncooked diet.
How does your oil not become rancid?
How are my oils going to become rancid? How do they not become rancid? Okay. Didn't God make nuts? God made nuts in the shell so that they're protected from becoming rancid. And when you take them out of the shell and chop them up, or heat them, or fry them, or bake them, or roast them, they become rancid. I just told you I'm eating raw food. Now you're dealing with something different. If you're asking about a product like that, an ethical company is going to extract the oil from the plant under nitrogen at low temperature, and it won't become rancid. And at low temperature, it won't become trans. Age will rancid them in the presence of oxygen. If there's no oxygen and you can keep all the oxygen out, they can't become rancid because you need oxygen to make them rancid. But everything has a shelf life, including a nut in the shell. If you leave it there long enough, it does go bad eventually. Everything alive eventually rots. So if you get something like one of these supplements, use it up within its time period. I want to tell you, I put ozone into joints. Please go to my YouTube channel. Robert Rowan, MD, all one word. The featured video there is called Oh My God, Knee Pain Relief. A woman comes into my office crippled. She's in her late 60s. She can barely get in the door, and she has to hold on to the wall. You'll see this. And I treat her, and I start the video immediately after treatment, just as she's getting off the table. And you need to see the change in the expression of this woman's face. There's no actress alive who could reproduce this. And she just goes, oh my God, oh my God. And she has to run out in the hallway where her husband's getting an IV to show off to him that she can run, sway her hips like this instantly. She needed one additional treatment, and I haven't had to see her back. That's how powerful a treatment like ozone can be. Why? Because even degenerative joint disease involves inflammation in the joint. Rheumatoid arthritis is overt inflammation. But degenerative joint disease, the joints don't have a good blood supply. The blood supply is the synovium, the membrane. And oxygen has to diffuse. Remember, I'm an oxygen man. And PEOs are important to transmit oxygen. But the issue is getting oxygen to that degenerating cartilage. It's dying. And it can't repair because it doesn't have oxygen, and it's got inflammation. When you put ozone in there, you've instantly put oxygen in, and you put ozone in, which modulates inflammation. And the Cubans have done miraculous research showing that the inflammatory proteins and chemicals and mediators in the knee collapse when you put ozone in the joint. It can last indefinitely. I have some patients coming back. Some patients don't have to come back for years. I can't guess on anybody. I mean, I looked at somebody here and I told him exactly what I saw in his face as far as his diet. And he said, he's right. All right. But I can't tell you when you come in how long it's going to take for your body to heal, or how quick ozone's going to be to fix your back or your knees or something else. I don't know. All I can do is try to maximize your efficiency and your body's ability to heal. And I concentrate on improper nutrition, toxins, stress, and getting oxygen to the area. Get oxygen to the area. I started doing ozone in 1986, and as soon as I started it, I knew the key to healing, no matter what it is oxygen. That's the king of healing. Yes, sir. Well,
PSA, I can tell you, Liquid Herbal is phenomenal. The Liquid Herbal, that SEAC, absolutely phenomenal for PSA. The oils, too. Dr. Earl may tell you other things, but those two are quick, easy, and highly, highly effective.
That's very reasonable. Stop eating an inflammatory diet. get your heavy metals checked. I told you what my PSA is, 0.5 right now. 5 years ago it was 0.4. Am I worried about it? No. I take vitamin D. Somebody asked me what supplements do I take. All right, we human beings, remember I told you, I do believe we originated in the tropics. I do. How can I? Let's use common sense. Common sense now, okay? Look around you. I don't see anybody having fur on their body. Fur. Hey, anybody want to get undressed and let me see if you've got a fur, if you're growing fur? Anybody want to do that? Yeah. But you got to have fur or you don't get it, okay? I'll give you $1. I'll give you $1 if you just demonstrate for me, and if you have fur, I'll give you $400, okay? $500. Thanks for the laugh. All right. Please, people, common sense. We had to have originated in a warmer climate because we brought the tropics with us with artificial heating. Please think about that. Common sense. We are tropical creatures. We were made to be getting more sun. We weren't born with clothing. Now we wear clothing. We live in Iowa where it's 20 below sometimes, or we're in Alaska where it's even worse. And even I, who am outdoors a lot, have been deficient in vitamin D this time of year. Everybody I test is deficient in vitamin D at this time of year, everybody. And black people have it even worse. Iodine. I take iodine because iodine is a nutritional mineral and it largely comes from wind blown in from the sea. And this is an iodine belt here, iodine deficiency belt. And I do take minerals from time to time. And I have taken the essential fatty acids too. He was all excited saying, well, did you notice anything? Did you notice anything? I said, no. What do you expect? For me. Do my patients notice something? Yeah, because they're eating adulterated oils. I don't. I don't eat fried foods. And when I go, you saw me today, I went to pains today to find a restaurant where I could eat vegetarian
perfect
and the
food.
food wasn't fried. And you liked it. You couldn't believe
delicious.
it, right?
Yeah, this
You
place
liked
is
it. The
off the
carnivore liked it. He said, oh my God, this restaurant's a 10.
That
And even by my standards, it was close to a 10. It was a vegetarian place near downtown.
Ryan, you know which one it is? Okay.
No, go on.
It was delicious, though.
I'm blanking on the name. Type in vegetarian restaurant Des Moines on Google, and it's the first or second one. And it's a cafe, and it's only open till 2 or 3 o'clock. And they're great. They're really, really good. I don't recommend calcium supplements because you can overdose on it. You don't need extra calcium. Calcium is found in nuts and seeds and vegetables. You get all the calcium you need that way. If you take calcium, you could calcify your soft tissues. You do need vitamin D because vitamin D is made by the sun and you're not getting enough sun. And if you get vitamin D, that will take care of your calcium problem in almost everybody. You say they had more heart trouble where they were getting calcium. Okay, where they were getting calcium. Well, hard water isn't just calcium. There's minerals in hard water. I don't have a problem if you're drinking hard water with calcium. You're not getting that much calcium. But when you take a calcium supplement for 500 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams, now you're getting pharmacological amounts of calcium, like you are pharmacological amounts of marine oil. So don't worry about that.
By the way, if anybody had a calcium deficiency, tetany, right? Wouldn't you have twitching in the nerves?
Well, that would
Isn't
be
called
really
tetany?
that would really be bad calcium
Right, but
deficiency.
you ever seen anybody have that?
You know, the studies are coming out now. I have seen that. That's in the hospital.
Rare,
I
though.
see it.
Rare.
They are coming out now with articles showing that people who take calcium don't do that well, and calcium is not that needed for osteoporosis. The only reason why you would take calcium is if you really have a deficiency, which very few people do. Vitamin D is much more necessary. Magnesium, zinc, copper, boron are important minerals for osteoporosis. They're using strontium because strontium actually does make the bones harder. It does. In my opinion, the jury is out on strontium. Strontium does make the bones harder, but we don't know if it makes them more brittle or not. Yes. Yeah. Alzheimer's. I have just written a piece on Alzheimer's that's going to blow the roof off of the world when it comes out. Not a lot. How many of you live in Des Moines? Is the water here fluoridated? Okay. I'm going to give you a synopsis of this, and you're going to hear it, and you're going to go home and really think about it. And that is, to me, that's one of the questions of the night. Why? Because there is an epidemic of Alzheimer's disease. You all are at great risk of Alzheimer's, every one of us. The nation is going to go bankrupt over this disease in the next 30 years, aside from Obamacare and every other foolhardy thing that's going on. I read a combination of articles several months ago. You get the Townsend, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. I read a combination of articles several months ago that linked the mineral copper to all of the enzymes in the brain that deal with the tau protein, the beta amyloid protein that accumulates. And they've had a running controversy. Well, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is something making the protein, or is the protein destroying the cell? We know that as that protein, the amyloid protein, accumulates, the cell strangles itself and it dies. So what's doing it? Well, there's new research that's coming out now that shows that free copper, ionic metallic copper, can bind to these proteins and stop the removal process of the protein. The brain can clear itself of this. But the mineral copper, which is a nutritional mineral, we'll get to that in a moment, inhibits it. And it also creates more of the protein, copper. So you're going to say, but wait a minute, it's a nutritional mineral. So is iron, right? We can't live without iron. Well, do you all know what happens if you get too much iron? It destroys you. It'll rust your gut if you take it orally. It'll rust your arteries. In people who have hemochromatosis and accumulate iron, it destroys their liver. Women live longer than men, not because they have ovaries and we have testicles. It's because they have a uterus and we have a prostate. They bleed every month, so they shed their iron. They're getting rid of excess iron. And very quickly after menopause, when they stop bleeding or when they have a hysterectomy, they catch up, because now they're retaining their iron. You getting the picture? So iron is good and bad. We need it. Same thing with copper. All of these transitional minerals need to be bound to a protein to be safe. Iron is bound, because if it's not bound, it's wildly reactive and it will destroy everything it touches. It'll oxidize it. Free iron oxidizes lipids, fats. Copper does too. So it has to be bound. The body shields it to protect it. Copper. Chelated.
Truly chelated.
It's really chelated. The protein binds it. It holds it. So here's the copper. There's a protein like this. So the copper and the iron is not reactive. This is reactive. That's not. Everybody understand that? Okay. Well, the series of articles showed that there is one industrialized nation that doesn't have a lot of Alzheimer's, and you would expect it to if it was a disease of modern civilization. It's Japan. Highly industrialized, highly modern. Well, what's going on in Japan that's different than us? I didn't know this, but Japan doesn't have copper pipes. They didn't believe in its safety. They have steel pipes, stainless steel pipes, stainless steel or something along that line. Okay, number one. Number two, Japan doesn't fluoridate. So let's go a little bit further. We have copper pipes. Now, I happen to have reverse osmosis in my house to take out everything. Distillation will do the same thing. Now let's get to fluoride. Our epidemic of Alzheimer's started maybe 30 years ago, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And these chronic degenerative conditions don't happen overnight. Japan doesn't have much Alzheimer's disease. Well, they should. Now, Alzheimer's, and here's another part of the puzzle. Alzheimer's disease is related to the protein ApoE4. You can get tested for it. If you're carrying 2 pairs of this, one from each parent, or 1 pair, two of them, your chances of Alzheimer's is significantly higher than the general population. If you have ApoE2, then your risk is much lower. What's the difference between 2, 3, and 4? The 2 variety of this protein has an amino acid on it in a particular spot called cysteine, cysteine. It's a sulfur-bearing amino acid that grabs copper and heavy metals. If you have the 2 variety of this, you have 2 cysteines. So you get double copper heavy metal binding. If you have the 3 variety, you have a small mutation and you only have 1 cysteine, so it can carry only half. And if you have the 4 variety, there's no cysteine. Hello, there's something here dealing with heavy metals. And the people who have this genetic anomaly are at higher risk. And there are some studies that show that if you give zinc to these people early, you improve cognitive function because zinc is copper's natural antagonist. And the studies were reproduced in animals and also humans. So here's where it gets really good. Your elected rulers, not leaders, your rulers have decided what's good for you. And they, without even allowing you to vote on it, they have imposed putting sodium fluoride or fluorosilicic acid in your water. It's a known byproduct, toxic byproduct of the aluminum industry. They couldn't get rid of it before, so they convinced your rulers that let's have you pay for it to poison you in the name of better dental health. But it doesn't help the dental anyway. That's known. That's bull. They're trying to get it in Santa Rosa, near where I live, water supply, and the people are rising up against it. And I just wrote a piece for the local newspaper, and they refused it, telling them what I'm telling you now, and they refused it. And I knew they would because they want fluoride. So it was published in one of the tabloids locally, and I got calls from around the world because it was posted on the internet, telling them what I'm going to tell you now. Acid dissolves minerals, right? So, and if your water is flowing through your pipes and there's acid in it, it will leach out minerals, that's known. Chlorine makes chloramines in water, which can chelate metallic copper. You with me so far? Now, I'm not telling you not to chlorinate your water, because I would rather die in 30 years of Alzheimer's or something bad or chlorine-related vascular disease than die today of dysentery. You with me on that? Now, there's ways not to chlorinate water. You could ozonate the water and use 1/10 of the chlorine. You could. Los Angeles does that. But we're dealing with rulers, and they're not benevolent rulers. So they put chlorine in. Let's put that aside. They're going to chlorinate your water. Chlorine's easy to remove. It's a piece of cake. All you need is a charcoal filter for that. Fluoride's different. When you put fluoride in water, fluoride reacts with the chloramine to create a solvent for metallic copper. It dissolves metallic copper. Dissolves it. You can look at the pipes of water that's been chlorinated and fluoridated, and it is etched. Tacoma had a catastrophe several years ago with fluoridating its water and finding an excess of lead. Why lead? Because brass fittings have lead in it. And when it leaches out the copper in brass, it frees up the lead. And they had to stop. And then the lead went down. And they put it in, and the lead went up. They weren't looking for metallic copper. They were just looking at lead. Now, I'm telling you, copper is a culprit here. So you've got fluoridated water in chlorinated water, and it's coming through your copper pipes. You're drinking it, and you're setting all of yourselves up for Alzheimer's disease. Have I answered your question?
Now I have a question. With Alzheimer's considered to be a neurological condition?
It's a degenerative disease of neurons.
All right. Can we add seizures, the epidemic of seizures, to this category as well?
Not necessarily.
Okay. That's my question with that.
All diseases can have multiple causes. I'm not saying copper is the cause of Alzheimer's. It's a cause. There are other things too. A deficiency, we're going to get to seizures in a moment. Fatty acids, other toxins, etc. But I look for horses before I look for zebras. Now, there are children who are born with seizures. That does happen. But if people have acquired seizures, let's say you're 30 years old and you have your first seizure. I was trained in medical school, and I still accept that. If you develop seizures as an adult, it's a tumor until proven otherwise. Do I accept that? Yes. So get checked and make sure there's no tumor. And get checked every couple of years with a proper test and make sure there's no tumor. The majority of them are not, but it could be. That said, what else could cause seizures? Trauma, toxins, iron in the brain, free iron, creating sparks and oxidation could do it. There's a variety of things. I would see an integrative physician. An integrative physician has several other terms: alternative, unconventional, complementary, integrative. I prefer the term biologic because I say I'm doing biological medicine. I believe I'm doing the kind of medicine that God would want us, because I told you, malnutrition, toxins, and stress are the big three for healing. I can't tell you for sure we can get seizures better. I have a woman in my office right now who's a fine lady who is having a major problem with seizures, and I'm beating my head up against the wall to try and
The
find
oils
something.
are phenomenal.
But I was just going to get to that. Thank you. The oils
in a
would
dog
be
and human.
the oils. Oxygen, 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 oxygen. So the oils are going to help get oxygen in and rebuild membranes, because it's a membrane disease, because neurons work through membranes, the electrical impulse along the membranes. Your brain is almost all membranes. And the Cubans, of all people, not our country, the poor Cubans, and I mean poor, they're doing research right now on ozone and seizures. Because I know the researchers. I've met them at meetings, and they tell me that it's helping, and they're doing animal work right now on it. So I'm now adding ozone to my treatment for seizures in recent days. I can't tell you how it works yet. So thank you for the question. Yes?
Lupus.
Piece of cake. Inflammation, malnutrition, toxins, and stress. Go there first. Get rid of the toxins, clean up the gut, get gluten out of your life, all processed foods. I can't tell you how many cases of inflammatory conditions I've seen get better simply by cleaning up the diet and going on my diet. It clears up so many things because gluten alone could be doing this. Gluten can cause arthritis or thyroiditis, itis. Itis means inflammation. So these are inflammatory conditions. Ozone has been marvelous for this because it modulates inflammation. There's a report that intravenous DMSO has resolved lupus because it modulates inflammation. Look for root canals as a potential cause because that can set up inflammation. Root canals was known 100 years ago. Everybody, in the book, I have a chapter that should be the foundation of every medical school student, every health professional. And it deals with the work of the famous dentist Weston Price and the physician Francis Pottinger. The Price-Pottinger Foundation still continues their incredible work. And it deals with diet. Pottinger found that in cats, he was doing work on cortisol, adrenal, when cortisol was first discovered, and he was using cats. People decided they don't like their cats anymore, so they just dumped them at his place for his experiments. He ran out of food. So in that pen over there with the extra cats, he asked the butcher for some scraps. Throwaway stuff. And he fed those cats the butcher scraps. Raw meat, right? And his other cats over here, he was feeding commercial cat crap. And he noticed a difference in their health. And this guy he's an observer. And that's what science should be. Look at observation first. He saw there was a difference. And he did a study on these cats. He followed them for 3 generations. This group of cats got the processed commercial cat crap and some milk and a little bit of cod liver oil. And this group over here got raw scraps and similar milk and or cod liver oil. And the difference in their health by the 3rd generation was appalling. The cats fed the raw food, were jumping all over the place, healthy, happy to see you. They looked terrific. But by the 3rd generation, the cats getting the other food, their fur was falling out, they had skeletal abnormalities, their jaw was short, so they would have sleep apnea if they were human. They couldn't even mount to reproduce. Think of all the men now with ED and low libido and everything else. And he was the first to describe allergies in animals, and he's a medical doctor, for God's sake. This is what the medical students should be learning. Weston Price went from Aboriginal culture to culture all over the world, detailing their outstanding health around 1920. Unbelievable health, good dental arches, few caries, no sleep apnea. And then he went back 20 years later, and husbands were beating their wives, their teeth were falling out, they had osteoporosis, heart disease, and a number of other things. What was the common denominator the 20 years later? Can you guess? Introduction of white man's food. I call it white man's food. No, I'm not a racist. But I call it white man's food. Call it what it is. And that's what happened to those people. That should be the first lesson in healing anybody. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
Hang on, you've asked me a lot of questions. Sorry.
I just wonder if you have doctors across the country that are under your direction.
There are organizations, yeah, that's a good question. There are organizations with doctors around the country in this area. The International College of Integrative Medicine, they concentrate more in the upper Midwest area. American College of Integrative Medicine. I've trained ozone doctors at my website, docrowen.com, docrowen.com. I have a list of the doctors who allowed me to post them for doing oxidation. Question over there, ma'am? What artery? Carotid artery? Carotid artery is no different than coronary artery. It's just that you happen to get it in your carotid because of who you are. It's atherosclerosis of the carotid arteries. Why is it there? Because you have a lot of abnormal oxidation going on in your body. It's not a disease of cholesterol. My cholesterol is 175. Why? Because I eat what I do. Now let me give you an example of something, and I wrote about this in the book. Cholesterol range. This man hit a home run, and he's not a medical doctor. Cholesterol range. My cholesterol has ranged from about 155, and if I ate the worst diet I could imagine, it probably would go up to maybe 190 or 200. That's my set point. I've never done that, but I'm giving you an example. And the idiots will say, oh, your cholesterol's 190, don't worry about it, everything's fine. And now, this guy over here might have a range of, say, 200 to 240. You with me on that? That's his range. Now, if his cholesterol is 200 in him and mine is 190 in me, I'm probably going to hurt myself really bad compared to him. That's number one. But so the issue is not the absolute amount of cholesterol. Cholesterol is found in your body connected, it's carried by lipids. It's carried by fats. They're called cholesterol esters. The cholesterol molecule is linked to a fatty acid. Cholesterol does nothing to you. They have fed rabbits cholesterol up the yin-yang, trying to induce atherosclerosis, and they can't. But if they feed the rabbit oxidized cholesterol, adulterated cholesterol, rancid cholesterol, in 6 weeks they get fatty streaks. It's not your level of cholesterol. And the idiots who are telling you to how many of you take statins? Please be honest. There are people here on statins. It's a good way to get Alzheimer's, in my opinion, because your brain makes cholesterol and it needs it. And that same enzyme that makes cholesterol in your liver is found in your brain. Why is it in your brain? Your brain wants cholesterol. It's the structural integrity of the cell membrane. Statins are garbage. If they work at all, it's because they have an effect on inflammation, not cholesterol. And the idea is to lower inflammation. Well, where's the inflammation coming from? Oxidized cholesterol. It promotes inflammation. There are receptors on the cells, on the inside of the cell, for oxidized cholesterol. And then when the cell picks it up, when the inner lining of the vascular system picks it up, it looks like a foreign body to the immune system. The immune body recognizes it as foreign, because it is, and it wants to kill it. So it goes for it and kills it, and it causes inflammation in the lining of your blood vessels, and it lets all kinds of other crap in. Am I making sense?
Now, there's an interesting thing here with exactly what you're saying. The amount of antioxidants in the bloodstream is not enough if cholesterol itself was the problem, because there's only one antioxidant for about 165 molecules of the cholesterol's fatty acids. So that'd be like one guy having to fight 165 people. You're gone. So that's the proof. This is in PEO solution. It's never meant to be an issue. Cholesterol does not become bad on its own in the body. What's bad is, like he said, the esterified cholesterol. Cholesterol, the way the fats are transported, the PEOs are magnetized to cholesterol. That's esterified cholesterol. They're not just floating around on their own. They're bound by it. So when you lower cholesterol, you lower the PEOs. Insane method. Now you also lower the bad PEOs, the adulterated ones. But that's not the way to go. The way to go is get lots of the good stuff and overpower the bad stuff. But that's the problem. There's not enough antioxidants, so the problem is not cholesterol, and this is thoroughly covered in the book.
The other things that you could do, carotid artery disease, in my opinion, is no different than coronary disease. You with me on that? Or peripheral vascular disease. It's just where it happens to hit you, your spiritual, your makeup, because we're all different. If I put a cloud of poison over all of us, it could affect us all differently. You all understand that? And it does. If I put the flu virus in here, some of us wouldn't be touched at all. Some of us would be near death in a couple days, and for the majority, we just get moderately sick. Heavy metals, lead, can cause it. So I do chelation. I do ozone therapy or oxidation therapy because it's phenomenal in improving oxygenation and reversing vascular disease. The Europeans and the Cubans have shown this. So get the heavy metals out. Do oxidation. Clean up your diet. I don't know one raw food vegan like me who has vascular disease. The average blood pressure in somebody like me is 100/70 or less in people who eat like me. 120/80 they say is normal. No. 120/80 is the absolute upper limit of an acceptable range. As soon as you get over 120, over 80, the all-risk ratio goes up. The all-cause morbidity goes up. There's a...
Migraine, nephew, how do you handle migraine headache?
Go ahead.
Best thing in the world for migraines is the PEOs. And, you know, getting rid of heavy metals. But the simple one, remember the liquid herbal, the Essiac, is a chelator. So if you can't get to a doctor's office, the liquid herbal, liquid Essiac, and the oils, phenomenal for migraines.
In proper nutrition, toxins, and stress. Get the heavy metals out, get the toxic fillings out of your teeth, get the root canals out.
10 more minutes, so real good questions.
Yeah.
It's getting cold.
He has a question there.
Did I hear you say peroxide on WHO this morning?
Yes, hydrogen peroxide is an oxidation treatment. It's similar to ozone, ultraviolet blood irradiation therapy, and high-dose vitamin C. Many of my colleagues do it. Intravenous hydrogen peroxide is a miraculous treatment. If you had the flu and you had pneumonia from the flu, it would lower your risk of dying by about 50%. That's published in the medical journal Lancet in 1920, but the idiots out there won't use it. The reason why I don't use intravenous hydrogen peroxide is one and one only. It's hard on veins. Ozone and ultraviolet is not hard on veins. I can do them with impunity, and I don't have a vein problem. You keep putting peroxide into a vein, and it could make the vein disappear.
How about orally?
I have a problem with that. Some people tolerate oral hydrogen peroxide just fine. Others, the hydrogen peroxide rots out their stomach
How do you know?
because they puke their guts out and they
Oh,
bleed.
that's a good sign, yeah.
All right? And even if they don't, it could still rot their stomach out. So I can't sit here in good faith to you and recommend that you do it. I've had patients swear by it, that it fixed everything, including lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and other things. But if I told you to take it and you puked your guts out and it rotted out your stomach, you wouldn't be very happy with me. So I can't tell you to do it. There was a question over here, someone who didn't have a question before. Here's my comment for this. I'm speaking as a physician now, okay?
Okay.
He's totally into fatty acids, and that's pretty much what he sees. I see more than that, all right? I would push these oils. I definitely would do that because I think they have a lot of value. But I wouldn't put all my stock in one thing. You have angina. That's not good. You're at risk of a heart attack. You have vascular disease and your heart muscle is suffering because it's not pumping well enough. There are a large variety of things that can be done here to improve the circulation to your heart. We have nearly 100% success in improving angina and reducing the risk of heart disease with a combination of therapies. And that's why I went over this with you tonight. Eat like I told you to eat first. Now, by the way, I can't diagnose and treat you here. I can just tell you what I would tell a patient. Eat this way. And I beat the crap out of my patients about diet above everything else. That's where I go first. And if you won't do it, forget the oils. But they'll help.
I've always been noted as what people call me a health nut, because I am. I eat raw stuff.
Terrific.
most of the time. So
All right. Look for heavy metals.
I've lived. I think.
Look for heavy metals.
Okay.
Look at your teeth. No fried food. No toxic oil. Look to a doctor who does chelation therapy because it potentially could help cancer as well, because cancers accumulate heavy metals.
Okay. Now, what about? See, I'm taking something for oral chelation. I'm taking.
That oral chelation is wonderful. Intravenous chelation is the cat's meow. Oxidation therapy. I've given you all a hint to what I consider one of the greatest therapies the world has ever known. Oxidation therapy. Ozone therapy, which can be done at home.
Oh, it can.
Yeah, I take phone consults from all over the country and overseas. People can call my office, set up a phone consult, and I will tell you I tell them over the phone how to do it. I can't diagnose or treat, but I tell them what I tell my patients. I want my patients to get an ozone machine so they don't have to come to me. And if it doesn't work rectally, then they can come to me. And they'll spend more, it'll cost more, but I give them a more powerful treatment. So angina is reversible. It is the idiots out there for years says, it's not reversible. And they admonished me. Well, we now know it is reversible. And the oils can help reverse it.
There's a lot in the book about this. Get the
That's
book
what I
and
was
read
gonna
it.
ask you.
Get that book
Will
and read
this
it.
book out here, because I asked the lady, I go to the store over here. I asked her if the book would give this information. She told me to come in and ask you.
The book gives you a lot of information, and I'm honest. I got to answer to God. The oils, I would put a patient like you in my office on the oils, straight up, but I wouldn't rely on just that. I'm being honest with you now.
Well, you'd be surprised at some of the other things I do take on an alternative basis, but
Okay.
I'm not sure just which ones are going to help the most.
You were a professional athlete, which means you got a lot of exercise.
Right.
Your diet was good. I would be looking, what else could be in you that's doing this? And I really would be looking at heavy metals. Heavy metals could be there because all of us have heavy metals. And at your age, sir,
Yeah, I'm 80 years old.
you grew up in a time of lead in gasoline. The lead goes into your bones, and as we age, especially in women, and the bones turn over, the lead is released, and it goes right to your arteries and your brain. So I would be looking at that because low levels of lead can cause vascular disease.
Can we remove them heavy metals without
You can do,
intravenous?
you can do chelation without intravenous chelation. Yes, it's slower, but it works.
Because I've told the medical profession most of the things I told them I would not do because it's invasive. I felt I wouldn't even do a biopsy.
I've had patients, listen, I've had patients come to me with heart failure with an ejection fraction of 18. An ejection fraction is the amount of blood your heart squeezes out in one stroke. They're alive. They're crippled. They can barely walk in because their heart's not. Your heart should pump 60+% of the blood out in one stroke. 18% sucks. You get the picture?
Right.
Okay. In 6 weeks, almost every one of my patients will double to 36% on key nutrients and getting them oxygenated. Their cells are not dead. If your cell is dead, it's dead. I can't fix it. God can't fix it. Sorry, God. But an injured cell, God made to repair itself if you get to it before it's dead. So the idea is to get the poisons out, get the nutrients in, and get the oxygen in. Am I making sense?
Yep.
Now, will the
Question
book,
on the flu.
will the book,
Get the book and read it.
Will the book tell me how to get a hold of you?
Yes.
The book does say how to get a hold of.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. And you go to my website, I'll give you the phone number. There was a question about the flu. I don't give flu shots to anybody.
Extensively addressed in the book, the flu shot.
I don't
You'll
give.
be shocked what you read.
I haven't given flu shots to anybody in my whole career, and that is even before I got into this. I don't believe in them. They're a crapshoot. If you take enough flu shots, your risk of Alzheimer's disease goes up because of all the aluminum adjuvants in the flu
and
vaccine.
they don't work. This was published by the head of the thing. You'll be shocked.
They don't work, and I would rather you have an ozone machine at home, because if you have an ozone machine and the flu comes around and you have a machine, everybody else around you will die but you.
One last one. One last question.
One last question. You didn't ask one.
We have an awful lot of autoimmune illnesses today. Does oxidation?
In my opinion, oxidation is the cat's meow for autoimmune. Why? I told you, improper nutrition, toxins, and stress. Correct? All right. Nutrition also includes oxygen. So that's one thing. Toxins is major. Oxidation therapy has been shown to lower toxin levels. But most important with oxidation therapy, it modulates the immune system. And the Cubans and the Italians have clearly shown that if you give ozone therapy, they're high into ozone. I do additional oxidation therapies depending upon how I see the patient. You modulate the immune system and you turn down the abnormally high inflammatory pathways. We have inflammation for a reason. If you don't have inflammation and you cut yourself, you'll bleed to death. Right?
Yep.
So if you take fish oil and you poison your inflammatory pathways totally with that, you'll bleed more than you should. Now I'm a vegetarian. If I cut myself, I bleed a lot. But I bleed, that's normal. You should bleed and ooze because it cleans yourself out. The meat eaters, the heavy meat eaters, clot faster. That's not necessarily good because it sets them up for heart disease. So, getting back to autoimmune disease, the Cubans have done a tremendous amount of research showing how you modulate the immune system with ozone therapy. And they're doing it, they don't have the money we do. So they're not giving it in the blood. They're giving it rectally, which is dirt cheap for them. I'm impatient. I like to get a fast result. Americans want a fast result. So I'll do it intravenously at first, but I beg my patients to get a machine.
Where did you get a machine?
I'll tell you afterwards.
Coming to an end, get PEO Solution. You
Actually,
owe it to yourself. If you're here and you care, you got to get the book and spend probably 3 or 4 hours reading it.
There
it
is
will answer most of your questions.
There is a company in Canada that makes ozone machines, and it can be imported for water sterilization, and you can adapt it for however you want to use it in the privacy of your house. It's called Longevity Resources. You can find them online. But I agree with you. One of the best things you could start with right now is all of you probably have adulterated oils in your body, and essential fatty acids is a really good place to start. I'm in agreement with the professor. The 2 most important nutrients that anybody could take, actually there's 3 and 4. Essential fatty acids, minerals, iodine falls into that group, and vitamin D. I also happen to like selenium, but that's a mineral too. So, and your diet, please. Diet, diet, diet. If you read this book, I'm begging you, get this book. Because, yes, it's written for physicians, but you'll understand it. And while you might understand what this engineer writes, this MIT engineer, I guarantee you you're going to understand what I write about diet. You will, because I wrote that section for you.